Okay, my friends, this is going to be a lot of fun. Have you ever had a bad callus? Well, this is a giant toe, and this is the guy's callus. And they don't get much worse than that. Now, this is the vein side of the blood supply, and this is the black blood vein side that leaked out, whoops, which would on you would be that sort of wrinkly side of your toe that bumps up against the other one here, and it makes that sort of scuzzy looking mess. Now this, ooh, that right there is a fingernail, a toenail. That's a toenail. All right, now I'm going to show you the grip skin and everything underneath. But remember what I'm showing you right here. You see that? That's the artery. I mean, vein. And that's why it's black. Normally that would never blow out. The black almost never blows out. It's always almost red, always. And this is where the red blood would have blown out. But it's capped over. The arteries are underneath here, but this cap has got it stopped. Now inside of here is all kinds of metal. There'll be gold and silver and all that stuff. And I've looked at it in a microscope, and we are going to look at it in a microscope. But this is a giant's toe. Now I'm going to show you something on the bottom, which is where the grip skin is, which is like on the bottom of your fingers, and on the bottom of your toes, and on your the palm of your hand. You see these fibers? You see that fibers? I hope you can see that. Again, I never can tell what somebody can see with this. But if you look carefully, you're going to see these different colors are the different blood supply and tendon emplacements, and these fibers relate to grip skin. I know this extremely well. I have this extremely well documented. And this is the tip of the toe. And that's what it looks like. Now, I want to show you something from the Yucatan Peninsula, but first I'm going to show you another hand that I have here. I have giants all over the place. I'm going to show you two examples. One of them is a hand, and it still has the grip skin that is eroding. This appears to have eroded mostly, and it's down into the fibrous stuff. The other one still had the skin, and literally skin coming off. And I'll show you some skin, and I'll show you one that still has its own fingerprints in it. I'll show you. All right, this is that toe, and see where there's quartz here? This gold a lot of times is in with the quartz, because the quartz is where you had blood and it purged its way out of there, and then the quartz filled in where the blood was, and then the gold filled in where the quartz was. So there's a lot of that stuff on here. And here's some other, let's see what we got over here. This is coming out of the callus too. There's all kinds of different materials that get filtered coming out of here. You see the little tiny holes? Those are very small. It's not a real serious microscope, but those are tiny holes. And what happens is things collect behind them, and then they start to adhere to each other. They like have a propensity their normal nature is to stick together. Like when I take my hand off the light, it all gets flashy. But you see it? All those little splits and cracks and things, and these little circles and stuff like that, those were blood vessels and tendon emplacements and fibers and collagen and keragens, and I mean, this is some serious biology going on here. And that's all in that callus, because it filtered everything out. And it's cool. I do this all day long. I can't help myself. It's so amazing what's been missed. It's impossible to believe. All right, I believe this is, I'm pretty sure this is a liver, and it's obviously filtering blood, and this is the blood. The red and the black is blood. Now, this is primarily right here in an arterial area where it's red. Now I'm going to keep moving, and it'll transition into a black area. You see all the little holes? Now we're in the black area, which is the vein blood. And it sort of mixes here and there. I'm pretty sure this is, look at the colors. This is, I'm almost 100% sure, is a liver. And the reason all these colors are here, these are what they call transition metals. And they're in your blood, and they carry the things around your blood to move from here to there, and then they have to be cleaned up, and that's what your liver does. It cleans it up. And then this is the outside of the liver. You see, this is what they call an interstitium, and all these little black balls are tied to fibers that hold the liver in like a plastic bag. And all your organs are wrapped like that with this kind of fabric. Now, inside, like I say, it's extremely black in areas. Some areas are not extremely black. It just depends what filtration was going on in that particular area. See here? Now, I'm going to go right to the border where it transitions out from the edge, right over the edge. Boom, right there. You see this? I'm rolling over the edge. Let me focus down here. Hold on. This is hard to do, so bear with me. All right, we're over the top of the edge. You see? Whoops. Right at the top of the edge. And we're looking at this fabric. This is the fabric. They call this feldspar. What it is the fabric of your tissue, or tissue that coats anything. Now, we're going to go around from the feldspar, which is the fascia and interstitium. Now I'm rolling over the top, and now we're going down into the organ, and here is all these holes that feed the thing with blood, and minerals and metals and all that stuff float through here, and that's how they get to all the different blood, all the different cells. I'm having a hard time focusing it, but because I'm doing it freehand, but this is what this is. Now, I'm going to show you what they found in the Yucatan. Hold on. All right, here's what they're pointing to as proof that this is what killed the dinosaurs. They found iridium in these layers, and they said, I guess it's right in this 30 layer here, somewhere right in here. And now I'm showing you right here, that is the grip skin that I showed you. This is the tissue layer, which is the outside layer, and it has little blood vessels here and there that are poking in to feed it a little bits of nutrition. And then here's your fleshy skin, flesh underneath the grip skin. That's what it is. Now look at this closely. That is the fleshy area. That is the grip skin. It peeled right off on my giant hand, and I'd like to have it tested. All right, this is a palm of a hand, 3 feet wide. This is one of the fingertips. I have knuckles and fingertips and a bunch of stuff from this hand. This was CAT scanned, DNA certified, anatomists looked at it. 100% everything is exactly what it's supposed to be. And that's where the apical tuft is. In the CAT scan, you can see where the fingernail was, and it all is exactly what it's supposed to be. Now, here's what I'm pointing to right now. You see this silvery part there? Let me home in on it. And by the way, this is a left human hand, and that's the same bumper pad you have in yours. It runs right around here, just like this. And then there's one of these things that runs down like that, and your thumb runs off this way. All right, you see it? Now, you see the silvery stuff? That, I believe, is loaded with iridium. I don't know why. Well, let me put it this way. Iridium is kind of a heavy metal. It's up here, iridium, way up here, 77. Iron's way down here, 26. All right. Then you get up a little more into gold and so forth, and then you're really exotic metals. So this is something that is not easily vaporized, let's put it that way. That's why they find them in comets and meteorites, and that's a heavy metal. Now, that just happens in a lot of heavy metal meteorites, and I'll tell you right now, they are loaded with blood. And you, oh, come on, Roger. Yeah, well, I'll show you. I can prove it. Now, this, I'm saying, is the eroding grip skin, which I believe is dense with iridium. And they could test this on, a human being today. Is it more dense iridium in the skin of the grip skin now? Because that's where the tough stuff is. Now, let me show you why I can make these other statements. All right, I had a lot of stuff that blood ran out of it, but this thing here, that's a lung, and the blood really, literally ran out of there in balls and blobs. This is another lung. This I had DNA certified. And I took the blood right out of this arterial flap down at the bottom. There is a ton of blood in these things. You see that? You see these holes in here? I drilled right up inside here somewhere, over in here, I can't remember where, but there's it's very, very, very easy to get dense blood out of these things. No problem whatsoever. All right, here's an iron meteorite they cut, and then they etched it with some kind of acid, and you see the different colors. That means there's different types of metals in here. Well, I can tell you what also is in here. An artery and a vein. All right? This cooked coming through the atmosphere and smelted off, and all of the cheap molecules go away because they just get burnt off. Just exactly identical to what they do in a furnace. And if it comes through at the right temperature, and I think it's around 1800 degrees or so, you end up with iron and then the metals that are above the iron. You see it here? Iron, cobalt, copper, zinc, all of that stuff, all the way up to gold and everything. And that's the process. Now, it depends on what metals were in here to begin with, obviously. And it also, there's other things but blood just seems to be very, very, very tenuous. I find blood in everything, literally everything. When they say you can't get blood out of a rock, that is insanity. I don't know whoever came up with that, but yikes. You see that? That's a giant lung. I have one right here. It would have done the same thing if it came through space in the correct way as this did. Smelted off, left all the alveoli and all those little interchanges and passages. And you could see there's still some red blood areas, and that could be tested. You'd have to drill deep inside one of these little passageways, and you'd find some residue of blood. And I'll show you that they're all over the place. And that's smelted just like if you put it in a furnace, because it's loaded with blood. Blood is iron. You see that? I can see a little red, a little red. I can see it here and there in there. That is an iron meteorite. Gigantic iron meteorite. Oh, there it is right there. You see the blood? I guarantee you they can go in and look at this. And that is what happens when it came through space. I have one here that came through space, but this was a fingertip. And this blistered off the same sort of way that did and blackened up like that. Only this was wet and had blood in it when it came through. Well, this did too, because it boiled out of there. Obviously, if it's gone, it didn't crystallize, so it blew out as wet blood. This blew out, and I can tell you it blew out, because the black side, which is the vein side, doesn't blow out. The red side, which is the artery side, exploded. That didn't leak. That did not leak. That exploded as it sizzled through the atmosphere and overheated. And the blood blew out of there. And I have a terrestrial fingertip that I'm going to show you right now. All right, let's start with this. You see that? You see the two of them? You see where the blood blew out here and blew out there? You see what that is? That leaked out here and leaked out there. All right? The tip has another blood vessel at the end, which this one does too. It didn't blow out because it exploded out of here first. Look at this side by side. Do you see what you see here? Take your time, look. Look at that little bump, and look at that little bump. You see that? You see that little hook up there? You see that little hook up there? You see this one here has the vein side clamped off. This one has the vein side clamped off. All right. This one, the blood leaked out and leaked out. You see that? That didn't explode like this one. That exploded. This one came through space. This was a terrestrial fingertip. Both of them from giant, look like human beings to me. Or they're giant fingertips from some creature that's very, very similar to us. All right, and I'll take a look at this right now in the microscope. All right, let's go up here and look in the microscope. This is what the fingertip looks like on its outside surface. That's the feldspar, you see it? This is the terrestrial one. Now, I'm going to take a look at the blood. Here's what the blood looks like. That's the blood all caked up. You see it? Coming right out of a blood vessel. I mean, Nikki, how could you possibly miss this? Let me get back there where it was. It's hard to get. All right, now let me focus it down in here. You see that? That's blood. And it's congealed blood. But this is on a terrestrial fingertip. It just sort of hardened up as it dried out. Here's another place here. All right, now, here's so that was this one. All right, now we're going to take a look at this one. It was burnt up. So I'm going to try to find some places that are not as burnt up. So let's go on the side here. There's a place that is not as cooked up as the other places are. But you can see, you see all the biology here, all those little holes where there was blood, and it boiled out of there. All right, now this, that's a cooked up spot. Most of it's pretty well cooked up. Hold on, here's a red spot. Let me get into the correct lighting. There we go. This one burnt up or cooked up, but it didn't cook up enough to turn black. It just blew the blood out of there. Now let's go into the side. Here we're going to go into the really red blood side where it blew the blood right out. All right, so here we're going to go down into the edge here. You see all those holes? All that, that's all biology, my friend. And that is a fingertip from some gigantic creature. All right, and that's just what it is. Now, and that can be, I know that can be tested. Because you see these little holes? They lead into places that nothing got to yet. You could drill through these little passages and you'll end up finding arterial debris. It might not be blood-ish, but it will, you know, I had stuff coming out just absolutely soaking wet. You know, well, I'll show you. I gotta admit once again, I got lost in this thing. Iridium is what we're talking about, is in this, what they're calling the Yucatan Peninsula crater, and that's why they think that was wiped out the dinosaurs. And I say no, it was the grip skin. And it's way up here, iridium, which, as we saw, iron meteorites are way down here, and they will hit the Earth, and still everything else goes with the iron. So you'd say, oh, well, anything we find with iron has to be from outer space. No, it's strictly the fact of how hot it got coming through the atmosphere. And in the case of this layer that, oh boy, Alvarez, I think it was, Luis Alvarez, I think, him and his son, I believe, are the ones that found this iridium layer. They said, oh, this iridium layer means that we were hit by an asteroid or some gigantic comet or something. Well, no, it means there was a gigantic flood and it washed all the skin, which was the grip skin stuff that has it. And we could test to see if it's more extensive in skin than not. If it is, it's obviously leached out of there during the salt water soaking process of a year or so. And then you would end up with a layer, which is, I agree, there is a layer of actually it's more metals and things. It's a biological layer of iridium is in it and other dense metals. And they leach out of bodies. That's all it is. And then that layer stayed there, and now they thought it was from outer space. It's not. And we can test these things now. This is not something that is just a guess anymore. It's testable now. Very easy to test. Okay, once again, I sort of did get lost in this, but I do believe I showed this before. This is the Yucatan core sample they're pointing to at this iridium layer and saying, ooh, this proves that that was an impact. I say, no, that proves there was a global flood. And this is this is actually a creature's body, and that is the grip skin. And that is the subgrip skin, the fleshy area which stretches and moves around, which is the interstitium, and then there is the basement layer. All right, my last statement is it was not the Chicxulub impact, or if there was one, that caused the dinosaur extinction. And the dinosaurs at that point in time were like ticks compared to the gigantic creatures that I have discovered all over the earth. I have giants right on my own property that have fingertips, the last tip of the finger that's 3 feet long. So consider that, my friend, when you think of a dinosaur 30 feet tall being what you'd consider gigantic. Alright, this is a giant fingertip from a giant human, and it was DNA certified, dense DNA, because I broke a piece off of here which has the actual fingerprints on it. Those are fingerprints. This is grip skin. I went into the arterial supply and got blood out of there. Totally clean. These are the blood supplies that come up under the fingernail. That's the bone that bumps up into the next bone. That's the fingernail. That is the grip skin. That's the thickness of the grip skin. And right there is where it wrapped around against the fingernail. So this is the kind of, and this is 3 feet long approximately. So when you talk about a 30-foot tall dinosaur and think that's a big deal, well, I don't think so.